Good evening, folks. I have discussion D for you. We're discussing the phrase, old age is not for sissies. I'm going to put that in the live chat bar and I will see what kind of discussion that brings up for y'all. So let me put that in right now. Okay, it's up in the discussion bar. We shall get the show going. All right, here we go, guys. Headline meaning: old age is not for sissies is a blunt, slightly cheeky truth telling phrase meant to jolt readers into acknowledging something our culture often tiptoes around. Aging demands courage, not the cinematic kind, but the quiet daily kind, enduring repeated losses, absorbing emotional blows you didn't see coming, and continuing to stitch together meaning even as the world you knew turns out or thins out. The line signals that later life isn't simply a gentle guide into leisure, it's a terrain that asks for resilience, honesty, and support. What the article emphasizes, the piece draws on the voices of grief therapists and older adults to illuminate a reality many people don't anticipate. Grief in later life is rarely a single contained event. Instead, it's a cumulative, layered, and often bewilderingly complex. Therapists describe a multiplicity of losses and a cascade that can include the deaths of peers, partners, and siblings, but also the quieter, less acknowledged losses, mobility, independence, identity. And the daily rhythms that once anchored life. The article underscores how destabilizing this can be. Many older adults don't initially recognize their feelings as grief because the losses are incremental or ambiguous without a clear event to point to. Sadness can feel shapelessness and isolating. That's why therapists emphasize the importance of naming the experience. Once people can say, "This is grief," they can begin to access tools, language, and community. Common, common kinds of loss described. Okay, guys, now this section of the show, I'm going to go into detail for y'all. Bereavement, the deaths of spouses, close friends, siblings, and longtime companions, often often occurring in clusters, can leave people feeling as if the ground is shifting beneath them. Ambiguous or instrumental. Ambiguous or some instrumental losses, declining health, reduced stamina, shrinking social circles, and slow erosion of independence can create a persistent ache that is hard to articulate. Identity and purpose losses, retirement changes in caregiving. Roles, or no longer being able to engage in beloved activities, can unsettle one's sense of self. These losses don't come with funerals or casseroles, but they carry real emotional weight. Therapist core advice: name the grief. Giving language to diffuse sadness is powerful. For the first step, when people can identify their experience as grief, they can begin to treat it with seriousness and compassion it deserves. Seek connection. Isolation magnifies suffering. The article highlights the value of grief groups, therapy, spiritual communities, and peer support. Spaces where older adults can feel seen, validated, and less alone. Use rituals and meaning making because many later life losses lack a single moment of closure. Therapists encourage creating small rituals, lighting a candle, assembling a memory book, telling telling stories, or making transitions with intention. These acts help transform grief from something enormous into something that can be held in held and honored. When to get professional help. The article is clear. If grief becomes persistent, overwhelming, or begins to interfere with daily functioning, it's time to reach out. Warning signs include major changes in sleep or appetite, difficulty managing basic tasks, or any sense of hopelessness or compromised safety. Early intervention can prevent grief from hardening into chronic depression or deepening into despair. Therapists emphasize that seeking help is not a failure of strength, it's an act of care. Bottom line, the headline sets a tone for a compassionate, unflinching exploration of what it means to age in a world where loss is inevitable. The article's central message is both practical and tender. Recognize and name your grief. Lean into connection and ritual, and seek grief focused support when the weight becomes too heavy to carry alone. Aging may not be for sissies, but it is absolutely something no one should have to navigate without community language and care. The page you have opened doesn't actually contain an article titled Getting Old Isn't for Sissies. 9 things to consider as you get older. Since the surrounding page content isn't available, the best way to explain that line is to interpret it through the same lens as the article you do have open, one that frames aging as emotionally demanding and full of layered challenges. Here's a clear, grounded explanation of what the headline is getting at. What the phrase means, getting old isn't for sissies, is a plain spoken way of saying that aging requires courage, adaptability, and emotional stamina. It pushes back against the cultural myths that later life is simply restful or easy. Instead, it acknowledges that older adulthood brings losses, people, roles, abilities, routines, transitions that can feel destabilizing, new vulnerabilities, physical, emotional, social, a need for resilience that often goes unrecognized, It is not meant to insult, it's meant to validate the real toughness aging demands. What 9 things to consider would typically refer to? Although the specific list isn't on your page, a headline like this usually points to themes such as number one. Hold on, guys. Made a list here too. Okay, number one, grief and cumulative loss. Two, changing health and mobility. Three, maintaining purpose and identity. Four, social connection and loneliness. Five, financial planning and security. Six, caregiving, giving or receiving. Okay, adapting to new limitations. That's 7. 8, finding meaning in later life. That's 8. 9, asking for help when needed. These mirror the emotional terrain described in the grief focused article. You're viewing. Aging isn't just about decline, it's about navigating a series of profound adjustments. Why this framing resonates with older adults? Because it tells the truth. Older adults often say they feel unseen or dismissed when they talk about the emotional weight of aging. A headline like this validates the experience. You're not imagining it. This is hard and you're strong for facing it. Last page, guys. If you want, I can sketch out a full 9 things to consider list. It might look like for your podcast or a workshop or a caregiver guide. Okay, that is D for you. Tonight I have one more, guys, so I'll be on for E shortly. Give me a little bit for a break, please, and I'll be back on with the last show of the evening. That is show E. Be back on shortly for that. For now, Gator Wellness, take care, folks.